Welcome to Doxxed, the podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Doxxed, the podcast. Today, we find ourselves diving headfirst into a feud between two prominent YouTube personalities, Aaliyah Shalesh, also known as Sssniperwolf, and Jack Douglas, also known as Jack's Films. Their online feud has been simmering for the past year, with Jack's Films critiquing Sssniperwolf's reaction-style content, contending that it is not transformative from the source material and that Sssniperwolf often fails to credit the original creators. But this tale of digital rivalry took a dramatic and unsettling turn when Sssniperwolf decided to take the argument from the screen to the streets, showing up at Jack's Films' home, filming the exterior of his residence, and then sharing the video as an Instagram story with the caption, "Let's talk like adults." This incident marked a significant escalation, raising questions about the boundaries of online conflict and privacy. It's a story that encompasses themes of cyber harassment, the blurred lines between online and offline worlds, and the consequences that content creators can face for their actions. So, please join us as we discuss yet another microcosm of online feuds, their real-world implications, and the ever-evolving dynamics of digital discourse.
So I just want to walk through the Sniperwolf controversy from the beginning of the timeline, which was really well laid out by the YouTuber Austin Green. So that's mostly where I got my stuff from. Or that's mostly where this is all sourced from. So Sssniperwolf has been on the platform since the early 2010s and is mostly known for like low effort reaction content. But she's kind of a darling of the YouTube platform, which is, I think, a big reason why anyone would care to talk about it, because she's got this like large following, and YouTube is really behind her. And she had given a keynote speech at VidCon. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So she's got like the whole platform behind her content, which is weird because it's very low effort, just reacting to TikToks and videos that are other people's content.
Mm-hmm.
And in unethical ways, I think, too. Okay. But anyway, she reminds me of Krissa from Krissa Explains It All a lot because they look alike. And Krissa is this Philadelphian person who participated in gang stalking me on behalf of our cyberbully situation and swung the whole narrative in her favor by getting my TikTok account banned for saying anything at all about it, which my TikTok is unbanned as of a few days ago.
Woohoo!
Aside, I don't even know woohoo. It's probably gonna get rebanned. TikTok is very loose and casual about the use of the term permaban, it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
But which I now know. But anyway, at the same time, she's playing up this like fragile white lady persona, and Krissa did a really ton of horrible, shitty things and faced zero consequences, which I really chalk up a lot to pretty privilege. And I think that could also be in play when it comes to the Sniperwolf situation. Like, there's no denying that she's just absolutely beautiful.
Right.
So anyway, there's this other creator named Jack's Films who has spent a lot of effort critiquing Sniperwolf and uncovered a lot of interesting things, but like became very singular about this for a while. Made a parody channel called Jack's Films. Yeah. And then that kind of kicked off. There was like a whole Twitter beef where it started because YouTube tweeted after Sniperwolf was this keynote speaker. YouTube tweeted, "Where does Sniperwolf get video ideas from fans? Here's what she had to say at VidCon 23 YouTube keynote. It's really important for me to engage with my audience. I get a lot of content ideas from them in the comments. It's important to grow and adapt as a creator." And Jax is really like annoyed at this because the idea is just like the fans send her the content. So what is she even doing? And basically that just kicks off a whole exchange between them. But already Sniperwolf, oops, sorry. Do not ding. Already, Sniperwolf is fuzzy on the logic, accusing Jax of copying her, which is really mental gymnastics because her content is like not transformative, is the whole problem.
Mm-hmm.
So she's not adding anything to it or changing it in any way, but he is. And he's not just copying her content, he's like reacting to her reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that becomes this whole back and forth. And one interesting thing that she does during that back and forth is to say that people can't, like in tweets, people can't stand that a female YouTuber is getting more views than me, even though I make the same content. Girl, life is hard, like making fun of Jax. And then says, I hate bringing up gender into this, but no one ever attacks the male react channels. So basically, Sniperwolf, like, I don't know, would you say weaponizes gender? But is bringing up this point of like, oh, I'm just getting attacked because I'm a woman, which I don't think it's really fair to say that that was the basis on which Jax Films was attacking her. I mean, it can play in, but I don't think that that's really like I think all of his critique is pretty legitimate about the content.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that's a valid thing to say as like a female creator on YouTube, that it must be that I'm a woman, because one thing that I do know for sure is that women creators on YouTube are disproportionately targeted and harassed by like male subscribers, male, not even subscribers, but just like people that just want to like hate in the comments.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad for women creators on YouTube for no other reason than the fact that they're women.
I agree. And I think it could be that something is playing in without it being conscious on the part of the, like, Jax Films, for example. So I don't really know what a lot of that initial exchange is, but I think it's interesting that she brings up gender at that point. And let's see. So then Jax Films next on the timeline uploads this video called Let's Talk About Sniperwolf, and also had tweeted, you ever make something that comes purely from rage? Anyways, new vid soon, been working on it for a month, and a man, anger is the best motivator. So he's got some, so it's interesting that at this point, before a lot of the serious shit goes down, he is already really invested and kind of like emotionally invested in in critique, but in I don't know what that is. Like, what's that emotional investment at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he kind of brings up a couple of really good points in the video, but you have to, I don't know, I'm interested in why rage. So he brings up that she's hurting creators because she often will not credit people and definitely won't ask for their permission, and she'll make a lot of money. Like, this matters because she makes money doing
Right.
this, and YouTube completely backs her as a platform. But she's like cutting out people's handles and basically using their copyrighted content. And then he also mentions in the video that she made fun of his hairline. So he kind of makes a joke that he's taking that really personally. But I don't really understand the rage at this. I understand the rage later on in the story, but I don't understand
Right.
the rage at this point. So and at this point, he encourages people to go write in her comments and call her out. So he's basically asking people to go harass her, which we've seen, several examples of this or
Right.
talked
Weaponizing your
through.
platform.
Sorry?
Yeah, weaponizing your platform, which a lot of big creators do when they are unhappy or feeling
Yeah.
inconvenienced.
Yeah. And I think, again, like later in this story, he has more of a reason to be angry. And he she definitely weaponized her platform against him more, or like in a scarier way. But this is really, and you see this happen, and I don't know, like in our last episode we talked about Iniko and how the villain of that story was basically receiving a similar kind of reaction,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know. You know, I don't think it's ever productive, but it's also one way to do a thing instead of just talking about a thing. Like if you physically overwhelm someone, that is also sometimes direct action.
Right, right.
So it's both, because I don't think it really, when you're just some individual anonymous whoever, I think there's better things you can do than just dog another human being. But there's also things you can do to politically get in the way of actions, you know, like you can
Mhm,
get a channel demonetized. Or for example, he also does an interesting thing. Like I don't love that he's sending people to harass to not to comment on the YouTube videos and like overwhelm in that way. But
mhm,
he also kind of like drums up interest about the situation where she's stealing the content, lets creators that she took content from know about it, and then
mhm.
helps them find resources to actually copyright strike content. So
Ooh,
that is a great example of direct action and kind of
yeah,
something I would totally condone.
yeah.
And yeah, that probably hurts her in her money in a way that's even more direct than just a bunch of YouTube comments to sift through emotionally or whatever. But like I don't know, like I think that's like way more ethical to me. And that's also something he did in this case.
It's way more effective than just being petty and calling people out and doxing and having these like crazy subscribers and bystanders do all kinds of dirty shit in your name just to see how far they can go and then put people's lives in danger. Like
Yeah.
taking direct action in the way that you described that he did is so much better.
Yeah, I think so. So, but you know, I think it's interesting to keep in mind that he does say he encourages people to go write in the comments. And again, you know who did that to me? Krista did that to me. Krista sent all her people to go write in my comments and report all my videos. And that's a big reason why I think my account had gone down for months.
Right.
So, you know, I think that can be a form of bullying people, and I don't really like that. But uh
Definitely bullying. Definitely.
yeah, but like getting someone demonetized who deserves it, like that's an interesting interesting action. I'm kind of pro that action. So he announces that he'll take his second channel even more seriously at this point, and he then starts using those videos on that second Gigi Jax Films channel to like more seriously grade her content, and he starts to notice patterns in the ways that she's doing her reactions. And
Mhm.
so like for example, she'll crop out the caption of the original video and then she'll read the caption on her video as if it's like her thought and reaction. So she's doing some shitty things, and they
That's so
create,
lazy.
oh it's so late, it even gets lazier. But they started doing Sniperwolf bingo, which I was laughing at because who else did bingo? Who did bingo?
Yeah.
Who did bingo?
Remember that.
Because sometimes when you're dealing with these wackadoo people, you start to notice patterns, and they
Yeah.
start to get kind of funny when you know. So anyway, um, yeah, so they caught her editing out the original, not just captions, but audio of some videos and saying the lines of like the original reactors herself. They caught her they caught her doing a lot of things to pad the length of videos so she would get them monetized better and be able to do like mid
Mhm.
reels. So she did one where she just like put a clip in twice to pad like the same reaction, herself reacting twice the same way to
Oh
pad the
my
length.
gosh.
She also uploaded a few videos without reactions, like just the original clips, like maybe out of sheer laziness to even check the way that it exported or something. So yeah, very, very lazy, which is just almost whatever, except why is this like the darling of YouTube? So I see kind of why Jax Films is like, what the hell? And I think because he was on that platform a long time too, I think he kind of got a little bit of a stick up his butt about it. Like this is a little bit of a vendetta because he's like, people are out here busting their butts and this person's doing nothing and just is right at the top. So maybe that's where the rage comes from at that point.
Hmm.
I,
Maybe.
I don't know. But so she continuously, in response to this, I think she does not respond well, basically, to criticism or critique. She's implying that Jax Films is stealing her content, which is hypocritical, and also his version of what he's doing is transformative. So no. So yeah, so he does this thing where he's like telling content creators to do copyright claims. So chunks of these Sniperwolf videos start to get deleted, and they can tell because then the lengths of them are going down a little, like by a minute or whatever, as they get copyright claimed. So then that pissed Sniperwolf off, and she escalates by posting a picture of Jax Film's house, like the outside of Jax Film's house, on Instagram stories. And the caption of the picture, so she's like physically outside of the house posting this picture to her many followers with the caption, "Let's talk like adults." Who does that sound like? Let's talk like
Jeez.
adults. I've heard that somewhere else, and it's just painting a picture to me of Sniperwolf being somebody I would be very spooked by too. Like, what are you going to do next then?
I only ever hear the phrase, let's talk like adults. Can't you talk like adults? From the most immature, brainless people. Like, no one that has the capability of having an adult conversation ever says that phrase.
Yeah, I don't think I've really ever heard it in other places besides in these situations with these like I
From
don't
these
even
people that are the
entitled.
most incapable of having adult conversations.
Yeah, like, and how, in what universe are you posting that as the caption to a video of someone that outside of their house? Like, that's not a threat. Like, that's all that is. That's only ever used as a threat.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about this story, not just because it's like the thing of the week, but because there were so many little moments where I was like, oh crap, like I've seen that exactly one other place, you know? Um, so anyway, that's an Instagram story. She deleted it kind of soon after. So she clearly like knew something was wrong, like don't do that. But it was up, and you can't, once something's out there, it's out there. And
Mhm.
so he actually reacted, he was on a live at the time. And so there's like he has a live reaction to it, finding out that she's outside of the house. And you can tell he's spooked, and I would be too.
Yeah.
And so then he tweets, Jax Films tweets, "It's time to get her off the platform. She's no longer a silly creator that steals content. Tee hee. She's a creep that stalks and threatens her critics. Nah, fuck that. Time to get her off YouTube."
Yeah.
And she posts another Instagram story that says, in response to that, she says, "This creep has been harassing me for months, then plays victim, saying I threatened him when I just wanted to talk to him. I have no ill intentions. It's so sad when people have to constantly create drama to pay their bills."
You
And
took
then,
a picture of his house and posted it on the
yeah,
internet.
well, who the hell does that sound like? And also just like Darvoing, like, "This creep has been harassing me for months." Like, critique is not harassment.
And how did he creep? What did he do that was creepy? Go to your house and take a picture of it and post it on the internet? Did he do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the only thing I really can identify that he's done wrong at this point, and really throughout this story, I think, in my personal judgment, is like sending people to just go harass her, like publicly on the comments of the YouTube videos. I don't like that. However, the escalation is completely undue.
Right. I don't
So,
like that either. The whole go to their comment section and say how you feel. Go to their I don't like the whole sending droves of people to someone else's platform to like air out all the horrible things that they think about that person. But unfortunately, once you rise to a certain level as a creator, as an influencer, whatever you want to call yourself, that is kind of the name of the game because people don't stop doing that. Like, they know how terrible it feels when it's done to them, But when they have the power to do that to someone else that's getting in their way or making things difficult for them, they don't hesitate to do that. So it is unfortunately kind of the name of the game, and it sucks. How do we change that? How do we fix that?
I mean, that's the question. Like it does come with the territory, but also it's not, people are humans. You know, there's this whole Britney thing, and I'm so newly into Britney for the first time in my entire life. Being born in the 90s, I have no idea how I was never into Britney until 2023. Like, really. But that kind of reflects all of this as well. That whole way that the press dogged her. They dragged her through the mud. I've seen
We
interviews where
should
you're just like,
totally read her book and like
mm,
do a couple episodes about her
yeah,
book.
I would love to, because she's like such an original version of this kind of story of like,
Mhm.
people really felt like they were entitled to do that to her, I think, because she had all this fame and she had whatever people perceived. And people will be jealous of you without having any idea what you're going through. Like, people will
Mhm.
be jealous as if you live a great life just because you have something that they think they want. They have no idea. So you're right, it comes with the territory, but like, it wasn't right when it happened to her. It's not right anytime. I don't think it's right. And so it is like, what do you do about it? Other than just, I think, try to be aware and try to like elevate the consciousness of people and audiences around it, because I think that ultimately the responsibility lies with discernment in audiences. I mean,
Right.
really.
And also, as terrible as it is, and as intense as it can feel when you're in the thick of it, people's attention spans, I mean, unlike our situation that's gone on for so long, but in less intense situations, people's attention spans are pretty short.
I
And the way
agree.
content moves so quickly, especially with short form content, people just kind of move on to the next thing. You're left traumatized and scared, and if the photos of your home are out there, you're kind of always looking over your shoulder wondering like who's lurking around. But then the audience at large just forgets so quickly and moves on so quickly.
I totally agree. It makes me also think of the other story that was we would have covered if we weren't talking about this. We might still, I don't know. But the whole like weird reaction to Swoop recently with the
Mhm.
whole, because I want to do an episode about that. I would love to, but
Yeah,
she
yeah.
basically covered all this stuff, and then the whole Johnny bullshit happened, which we've covered in our
And
past
then
episodes.
JoJo Siwa.
And then yeah, and so then she had this Swoop opened up a second channel to kind of basically blow off steam, was my sense, and just made like a less in detailed entailed video where she was just kind of reacting to the Jojo Siwa thing and a couple other things. And then Oliver tweeted and was just frustrated, fairly, that his interview hadn't really been featured yet, and a lot of that is because of Johnny, because of that whole bullshit. And
Mhm.
now it's like the entire, apparently and I don't go on Reddit because goddamn Reddit, but apparently the whole Colleen Snark Reddit became like anti-Swoop mainly content, and it's just like, that's so gross, you guys. Like,
That sounds so familiar.
yeah, plus you all have the attention span of a fly. Like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
Perfect example. So anyway, that's an aside, but uh yeah. People like, I like, if we when we talk about that, what I want to talk about is how shallow people have to be, like, to be having that take. I don't know. Anyway, or just like so black and white. I think that's part of it too. But okay,
Yeah.
back to this timeline. Sniperwolf says this creep has been harassing me for months and plays victim, saying I threatened him when I just wanted to talk to him. Like, no, that's clearly a threat. So
So is she saying she showed up at his home to talk to him
yeah,
unannounced and uninvited?
yeah, she's insisting and doubling down that she sincerely just wanted to talk to him, while she did like didn't contact him directly, but posted a picture of his house saying this to her many followers. Okay.
So in her mind, that that's a justification. Like that sounds better to her. I'm not a creep. I just showed up to his home unannounced and uninvited, unexpectedly, to talk to him. That sounds worse.
To be honest, none of her reactions to this whole situation at any time make sense to me, really. So they really don't. I don't understand her motivation. I mean, I understand her motivations, I guess, but just this is weird. Like, I kind of don't. Because why would you do this if you just make a lot of, like, just ignore this guy? This is a weird,
Yeah.
this is another similarity. Why are you this upset that someone is critiquing you, or even that they have a whole channel that exists to critique you? You're a huge content creator. Why would you not expect that to happen at some point? And that's different than someone showing up at your house.
I
Like
mean, she
that
could
part
have,
is the
like,
territory.
she honestly could have just pulled an Amberlyn Reed and just, like, went with it. Because Amberlyn, her whole career on YouTube is based on other people just reacting to her. Like,
Yeah,
what's wrong with that?
exactly. And you can even be like, oh, he's a hater. But you know what you should not do? Show up to his house.
Yeah, weirdo.
Weirdo. So, so yeah. So then Jax Films tweets back and says, Sniperwolf just doxed me on her Instagram. Creepy, gross, violating. What you do is disgusting. You steal content and stalk YouTubers. YouTube, demonetize this dangerous creator or just get her off your platform. She posted an IG story right outside her home and deleted it. Actually, I can't tell if she's making that Instagram story. She might have been responding to that tweet in her story. But either way, those two are right next to each other in the
Yeah.
timeline. And then I want to play a little chunk of what she says here, if that's all right. So I'm going to share the screen. This is another Instagram story, but I think it's just easier to listen to it.
This guy's entire channel is just me, me, me. Every single video for the past few months has been about me. And it's just like shitting on me. And then his streams, this dude is just like low-key harassing me. Like, should I get a restraining order?
So I just think that's interesting for a couple reasons. Also, the caption of it, as she's saying that, what you can see on the screen of the video is, hold on, it's loading again. Stop it. It says, this is obsessive behavior. Is this really the only way you can get views on YouTube? Don't you have a wife? Which is another thing that I only heard in one other place from another large creator. So, like, but that person was saying, like, don't you have kids? Which I read as like a threat about the kids. And it's like, don't you have a wife? It's like, I almost read that as a threat about the wife too.
That's, I don't like that at all. Like, anything that alludes to dragging people's family into the situation that have nothing to do with anything is just very gross to me.
I
There's
agree.
no need to even, like, don't even mention, don't you have a wife? Don't you have kids? What? Don't even mention people's family. For what? Why do
For
people have
what?
to go there?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it does. It drags people in. It like goads them to respond. It goads your fans to try to find out information about them. Just really, you don't need to touch it. And it makes it ugly when you do.
Are you tired of feeling unsafe online? Do you want to learn how to protect yourself from cyberbullying, doxing, and other forms of online harassment? Then look no further than Doxxed the Podcast. Visit the website doxxedthepodcast.com to sign up for the Doxxed free ebook full of helpful tips and resources for online safety. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive the weekly newsletter with the latest updates on upcoming content. There are many ways to connect with Doxxed, including Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. Have a story to share or feedback to give? Use the contact form on the site to reach out or leave a voice message to be featured on the show. And for exclusive content, subscribe to the Doxxed Supercast to gain access to the private podcast feed with member-only exclusives. Take control of your online safety and join the Doxxed community today.
So, and then the other thing that's interesting, and the reason I wanted to play the audio part, is she at the end is like, should I get a restraining order? Because he's harassing me. And this is like, the restraining order part is really Darvo, I think, because that's another thing that I think we heard was just like, you're clearly the one that people are getting a restraining order against. You
Yeah.
showed up to someone's house or you threatened to or whatever. Like, that's like that's like a total backflip gaslight, you know?
Right. But a judge would have to decide that it's like warranted to do that. And there's so much public evidence that it just even wouldn't make sense to grant her a restraining order given what she's done.
Well, and then also I think one thing we understand, which it's really hard to know any of this behind the scenes legal stuff until you've gone through it basically or tried to. And one thing that's really hard is, well, it's interesting that she was physically there. I don't know if they live in the same state, but it can be really hard to get a restraining order when you're not in the same state or area.
Right.
So it's actually, he probably could get a restraining order against her much more easily because it was like a physical, encounter.
Yeah.
So at this point, Jack's Film's wife tweets tweets to YouTube. And I think that's interesting that she chooses to like say something because it's like you're now entering yourself into the public arena there,
Mm-hmm.
which is a choice. Probably a choice they discussed heavily. So she says, "Dear YouTube creators, Team YouTube, I am not a creator, but my husband is. Tonight, Sniperwolf came to my home, posted it on her Instagram for all to see." Sorry. Posted it on Instagram for all to see and tried to instigate a confrontation. I now have to worry about what she, as one of your favored creators, or any of her many fans, may do to harm me or my family. I'm a regular human that works a normal 8 to 5 corporate job that happened to fall in love with a YouTuber. That's cute. She might claim that she is coming after a bully, but she's actually stalking and doxing normal people. And then Sniperwolf 30 minutes later posts on Insta stories and says, 400 videos online shitting on someone, but wanting to talk IRL goes too far. Modern men are actually a joke, which again is not a great, like every time she responds to any of this, I'm like, what are you doing?
Is it a lot that he's made so many videos specifically about her, critiquing her content? Sure, that's a lot. Like if you're the subject of someone else's channel, I can only imagine. Well, I can imagine because I have been not on YouTube, but but she completely crossed a line. Like she made it so that she doesn't really have a leg to stand on. Once you're doxing people, no one gives a shit how many YouTube videos have been made about your content that you put out there willingly. He didn't post his house on the internet for everybody to see. She did that to him. When you make content available for the world to see, people can critique your content. Is it harassment? I don't know. Do you feel unsafe? Like, are they doxing you? Are they
Well, yeah,
mentioning things about your personal life, your family? Like, then that can be harassment. But, like, people are allowed to critique your content because you put it out
exactly.
there.
Exactly. Who cares if there's 400 videos on a channel that's devoted to critiquing you're a creator, you're a public figure. So
Hmm.
that part is totally part of the territory. That's totally what you signed up for. And it
Yeah.
makes no sense as such a large creator, especially to care about every single person who critiques you. That makes no sense. You're gonna encounter people that will have critiques of you. You can't stalk and harass them all. You can't do that because it's going to be too
No.
much energy. That's not sustainable at all because people will exist that will critique and disagree with you.
Yeah.
So, and that's different from like really harassing people. Like I think overloading comments, with a bunch of nonsense strangers just piling on, saying insults or whatever, like that's different than,
It's different, but you can also turn them off. You can filter them. I'm sure
yeah.
she could have moderators. She makes enough money. Like,
I
she can
agree.
figure that out.
It's also not black and white because that I would say that's harassment, but it's not like the kind of harassment where you get a restraining order against somebody. You
Right.
literally just turn off your comments. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so at this point, Jack's Film is trying to get YouTube to like ban or do something to punish Sniperwolf and says, Team YouTube, you up? Got time to ban a literal stalker? And so then she posts on her Instagram stories And the caption says, accusing me of doxing is defamation. I have no idea how to
Oh
dox.
my God.
Where have we heard this before? I have no idea how to dox. He literally posted his address on Google and said I threatened him and doxed him.
What?
Like, yeah, I know. Like, what is that response? I have no idea how to dox. He posted his address on Google and said I threatened him and doxed him, which, like, what she's trying to say, I think, which actually Legal Eagle, who has made a guest appearance on former episodes or has been guest mentioned, has made a cameo. Legal Eagle commented on this situation and basically said what we already know, which is that this is not technically legally doxing because it's basically impossible, like not impossible. Doxing really is, in a legal sense, pretty much only when somebody hacks into your system to steal private information, like a social security number that is not just on Google for anyone to find. So if someone posts your house, if someone posts your full name, if someone posts your deceased grandmother, those are not examples of doxing because they're public. And that is really shitty because it's still very, very harmful and threatening and encourages people to come and physically harm you.
There has to be some kind of umbrella of doxing because I still believe like taking someone's information, public or not, and putting it on another platform without someone's consent with the intent to cause them harm, to show people, hey, go after this person, or it's a known thing that I have a beef with this person, so I'm going to show their house to my following and just let the chips fall where they may. That's ill intent. That has to fall under the umbrella of doxing.
Well, or something, there should be some legal protection, and it seems to me like there's not enough. And also, I am grossed out that so many people are so willing to excuse something based on the fact that there's not yet a legal protection about it, you know, that sufficiently addresses it. So maybe don't call it doxing, but maybe call it definitely like harassment or something, like, or I don't know what.
I mean, I think if you
Incitement
don't
to
want it done
harass.
to you, don't do it to anybody. How about that?
Well, yeah, and it's like a consent thing. Like if somebody's not putting that information on a particular platform, but now you're blasting it on that platform to introduce it to new audiences, like for the purpose of hate and harassment. I don't know what to call that, but it's annoying. It's annoying that what am I trying to say? It's annoying that so many people will just dismiss it as a problem out of hand just because of like the weightiness of the word doxing and the restrictiveness of what that legally means. So, and yeah, so then Jack's film says, we feel violated. We no longer feel safe in our own home, which, like, yeah, that is the problem. And I know that feeling. And it's kind of, and this is even like, there's one thing that sets this apart from our situation, which is that this person physically showed up at his house. I would be freaked out too. And it is really surprising. It's surprising how little the police will do, even in this situation, you know, probably.
Yeah, I mean, in our situation, I had our cyberbully make a whole video saying, I'm gonna take a trip to Washington. I'm gonna show up at your house, Roxy. Like,
that happened with several people in our situation where there were like pretty serious threats. And even I didn't really receive such direct threats, but I was afraid for a hot minute, that I was going to be physically attacked in my home. And I was prepared for that, you know? And that is scary enough. And then to imagine this person like physically showing up at your house, actually, oh my God. So of course you feel violated and unsafe in your house. And like with this weird comment about the wife, like all of this is reading as a threat, Sniperwolf. If you didn't know, this is reading as a threat for sure.
I mean, if you want to have a conversation, make a video saying you want to have a conversation and
or
make it
privately
public
message.
so everyone can weigh in on it. You can get your clout from it and then go live and record it and you both get your clout from it.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what you do when you're a big YouTuber and you quote unquote want to have a conversation with someone that you're beefing with, right?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. So, and there was, again, like, I don't really understand her reaction at any stage of this, because every single time that it's like, and then she said this, you're like, why did you not do the complete other thing? Like, why did you not reach out privately? Why did you not make your video? Why did you go to their house? Why are you acting like you sincerely wanted to talk by going to their house and posting that on your page? Like, what?
And
Every
no,
stage
you
of this is
can't rely on being like doe-eyed and cute when you've done one of the creepiest things a person can do. Like, no, no.
exactly. So, and okay, so then this next part is really the moment of this story that I learned that I was like, we must talk about this, because he said, if this goes unpunished, and he's talking to YouTube, then it sets a terrifying precedent that you can dox and stalk your critics as long as you have a big YouTube following. No, no. This story did not set the precedent. I don't know that we set the precedent either. I think this kind of thing happens like a lot more than people talk about, but it's under my skin that no one should be acting like this is the first time that this ever happened, because you've just not been paying attention then.
Right.
And that was
It's been
that was the point I
happening
wanted to make.
for the entire history of social media. It's been happening worse, and people have died from this.
Exactly.
Like, it's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. So nobody's perfect, right? And like, I definitely come down on the side of Jack's Films on this story, but I just think it's like, having also been through a really parallel situation in a lot of ways, no, you are not setting the precedent. I'm sorry. And it's disappointing. And he's so like riled up talking to YouTube, trying to get them to do something about this. And it's like, you have not, the precedent is set, my fine sir. It has been set. It is set. I have lived the precedent. So no, it's just, I get it. And also he's got his content, and like, I'm not shaming him for his content game either. Like, play out your story, tell your version of the story, like say it and be mad if you're mad.
Yeah.
But no, this is not the precedent. This is not the moment. This is, it's
You're
like
not
that.
the biggest story. You're not the deadliest story. You're not in the most danger. You're one of many.
Exactly. Like, it's like that thing of where you just showed up to find out that there was like an issue, and you're suddenly dying on some hill, or you're suddenly acting like you're going to rush in and save the day. Like, you learned about this conflict 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my beef. So a bunch of people are messaging YouTube not to be hypocrites about their own policies, basically. And Jack's Films is writing, the best time to remove Swiperwolf from your platform was Friday night when she showed up to our home, filmed and posted a live video of our house to her 5 million plus Insta followers while my wife and I were inside, and dared me to come out. The second best time is now. I'm reading that kind of like, I get it. Like, yes, agree. Don't disagree with any of that. He says, I've sent video evidence to the appropriate channels. I'm happy to share directly with you. This is a clear example of doxing and a clear violation of your policy stated here. I'm aware you're looking into the situation. This is a black and white case that holds dangerous implications if it goes unchecked. But it's just like, it does hold dangerous implications, but so does, this is not the first time this happened, dude. I promise you. So then YouTube says nothing for a whole week, and then it says, Team YouTube says, confirming Sssniperwolf has received a temporary monetization suspension per creator responsibility policies. Off-platform actions that put others' personal safety at risk harm our community, and the behavior on both sides isn't what we want on YouTube. Hoping everyone helps this convo to move to a better place. So they kind of both sides it, which I think is interesting. And yeah. And so, I mean, again, I think that the Sniperwolf response was way escalated out of beyond the original.
Yeah.
That was. So then, after 30 minutes after that, Sniperwolf posts an apology, which is
only after that.
Again,
oh my God.
Every single time. Why does she do this? And then not only that, the apology is really bizarre too. And the person that I was sourcing this from Austin Green, which I will link in the description, was saying, and I think a lot of people were saying that maybe ChatGPT wrote this apology, which I don't know, but it's a weird apology. So the apology goes, and she tweeted it, which is apparently her her smallest platform is Twitter. So she's doing that. I think Colleen Ballinger did that too, like released her apology on the smallest channel. So Sniperwolf tweets, let me start by saying I'm sorry for my recent actions. It is inexcusable. I'm sorry to Jack's Film, YouTube, the entire creator community, and my incredible fans for not being a better example for appropriate conflict resolution. Jack's Film, while we certainly don't see eye to eye and have our differences, I am sorry for reacting the way I did when I should have taken the opportunity to show young creators how adults and professionals resolve conflict by communicating directly, respectfully, and privately. Not for views or content, but a meaningful example of how conflict should be solved. I will reach out directly and hope we can find some time to connect to communicate respectfully. I'd also like to thank YouTube for holding me accountable. I deserve it. Respect the decision and appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow from a true lapse in judgment. And that was the tweet. Which,
wow,
it just seems like she literally, I could see it being ChatGPT because it feels like, here's how little this matters to me. You know what I mean? Like, this matters so little that it's kind of funny. I might as well just put this out and move on forever, and who cares, you know?
Yeah.
Like, didn't really directly address the actual issue of showing up at this guy's house, which is like a misdirect to make it about doxing. That's the issue. No, I think the issue is you showed up at this guy's house, and he really, it's not the same. It's not equivalent that he made a YouTube channel critiquing your content. Yeah.
I don't know who either of these people are, but like I'm based on this, I'm not a fan of either.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't have to be a fan of someone to
like,
sympathize with them not wanting someone else to show up at their fucking house, though.
yeah. She seems bizarre. And he seems a little maybe overzealous targeting one person and making that his entire channel, which is weird. But it's not uncommon. There's plenty of people that do that and they build their YouTube careers off of critiquing one specific creator's content. That's a
Yeah.
very common thing on YouTube.
Yeah, and I also think I don't quite understand, again, pointing out like he very early on feels like rage behind this, and I don't really understand why. Except I think the motivation there is that he put in the daily grind of trying to become a creator and is looking and seeing this very pretty girl doing nothing basically, and yeah, doing some, but he only later realizes some of these like especially shitty practices she has by observing her for a while. At first it's mostly just like, this is dumb that it's like low effort content basically, and she's getting a lot of views and YouTube is backing that, and he kind of has this like what wants to be like, it's like a principled idea that, you know, they should be backing content creation and not just like content swiping. But I think it's kind of like a frustration of like, I've been putting in the work, and why is this person so far ahead doing so much less, which is kind of like, I don't know, like it's I don't know.
Why not me stance is just never a good reason to start anything.
Like, it's not equivalent. It's not like no one should show up to someone's house, and no one, definitely don't post it on Instagram. And so, you know, there's not really anything you can do, I think, that's bad enough to deserve that from somebody. I don't think so. But yeah. So that aside, just like if I'm just being snitty about personally judging this man's character, like, then I would say that, yeah, there's like, I don't know. I can't even really knock you making a channel about somebody. It's just more like, why is there that rage? I think that rage is because I think you got to focus on you, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta not be comparing yourself, even though that's unfair, but it's not like because of this one person either. It's not Sniperwolf. It's like the whole system that's gonna reward that. So you can't, you're displacing your rage, which I think should be at the system, onto one person. I think that's my issue with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And like it's okay to be mad. But like just for you, like I hope that you and your wife are doing okay and that you can kind of also like maybe I'm talking to me here, but like I hope you can like take the time you need to just kind of focus on you, you know?
Right. I do sincerely hope that him and his wife and kids are sleeping peacefully at night, that this doesn't escalate any further in terms of like subscribers or followers of Sniper Wolf, that they don't, in their weird parasocial ways that we have witnessed ourselves, don't take things further and like put anyone's safety at risk, because that's terrifying and so unnecessary. So I
Yeah.
hope for them that they're okay and they find a place of like peace of mind, that they're safe and secure in their homes and it's not like a thing.
Yeah, I hope so too. And it does kind of worry me because I just think while some of his choices frustrate me or I can judge them, her entire way of acting throughout this whole story to me paints a picture of somebody that I wouldn't put it past them to do like a weird vendetta thing and like you know what I mean, like orchestrate followers to be toxically trying to harm these people, and I don't like that. I feel like what we know is that toxic influencers have toxic dynamics with their followers and often are more
Mhm.
able to weaponize the followers against people than a less toxic creator would be. And this just paints a picture of somebody that I don't know, I would say is unstable. Why would you show
Yeah.
it, and why are you so insistent that it's like maybe just entitlement that you can get away with it, but that
Yeah.
bold insistence that it was a sincere effort to talk like adults. No, it wasn't.
No. And
It
if
was.
it was, you're terribly misguided if you think that's the way.
If it was, you're equally unstable in a way that is equally scary of what you could do next, you know? Either
Yeah.
way, I don't like that.
Yeah.
It's simply not safe. It's giving danger.
It's
So
giving danger. Oh my god, it's giving danger.
Thank you for listening. Find additional content at doxedthepodcast.com.